we got shades for any place that someone living here would need privacy, so the studio and any of the sleeping rooms.
So I think the elevator has made progress. I don't think it's done yet. That's one of the major things for this certificate of occupancy. And then apparently the solar array was energized and then it had to be shut off until Eversource can come out and like inspect it. So it's another step that was new news to us. And there needs to be an emergency shut off installed outside the building, so if there's an issue with the power, they can remotely shut that off before they go up on the roof, if they need to do something with the solar array. So it's just, frankly, it's a lot of little things, but it's like, come on, guys, we really need to get this done, and including the financial review.
Yep,
Which,
Sarah Glover mentioned
Yeah.
something to me that they're will be ready soon.
Okay.
So.
And then at 3 o'clock today, well, right now, so it's probably a pretty good segue, we'll be doing the public hearing for the supplemental funding request, which I'll just quickly introduce that now. So we were approached by the Community Development Finance Authority. They had $1.25 I thought it was $1.5 initially, but I think it's $1.25 million of additional funding. They're calling it gap funding because they realize that everything that they've approved and funded in the last couple of years has run into some serious fiscal challenges because of COVID. And every project has had some overruns of one sort or another. So they said, hey, if you need money, let us know. And I was like, oh, yes. As a matter of fact, we do. So it had to be a material increase attributable to COVID or a delay that was attributable to COVID. So those types of cost increases are what are eligible. So you'll hear the dollar value when we go through the public hearing. So we're optimistic. We get a couple $100,000, and that should help us balance the books, and maybe even a bit more. We can recover some of the funding that the county has approved, because we were the #1 funder of this project. I think that was, we don't talk about that a lot, but between the bond that we did that displaced the community loan fund financing and the other money that we had set aside, we are, I'd say by far, the #1 funder on this. That's why the Sullivan County taxpayers are in the top line at the bottom of the big bronze plaque. We had the facsimile of it downstairs. We say with generous funding support from our taxpayers are first because we paid the most. So anyway, all right. So Sharon, we're going to jump into the public hearing and then we can get back to the regular business. Is that?
Yeah. I think in the front of your books on the left-hand side, there's a packet.
Yep.
Shows a little script for George commissioners to read. Starts with number 1, goes on the back, says 2, 3, 4, 5. This document was the advertisement, went into the Eagle Times, was posted in 3 different places, website, county website, and Newport Town, Claremont City. And there's also a trails project description in there.
Probably gonna be in trouble because it says it's gonna be accessible through Zoom.
That was the only issue that we had.
Yeah, it's not a legal requirement to have this thing televised, so we'll listen now.
And actually, we're having Kirsten film this so that we can put it onto the YouTube channel, and we'll send out a note tomorrow to let people know they can still send comments and questions.
So this one correction, who's going to be reading this part? Oh, this was the ad.
That was the ad.
Okay, so that's not being read?
The intent is for George to read it.
Okay, so the right dollar amount is in here, that's all I was looking for.
That was the original ad, and you had changed the...
Right here.
Right,
There's a question mark after that though, so is this the final version?
on number 3.
Oh, because he's asking a question. Okay, I got you. In the script, are there any questions? I'm with you. All right, looks like you got the right dollar value, good.
Commissioner Hebert, start.
Okay, I open this public hearing, excuse me, to discuss the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG project currently underway for the Sullivan House Sober Housing Project, 19-410-CDBF award. Public hearings notice, County of Sullivan Community Development Block Grants. The Sullivan County Commissioners will hold a public hearing Monday, May 16th, 2022 at 3 p.m. at 19 Sullivan Street, Claremont, New Hampshire, 03743. As part of the requirements for applying for CDBG Gap Funding through the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority, CDFA. This hearing relates to community development finance, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to repeat that line. Commutes to a CDBG Gap Funding application of $164,672 that they are planning to submit as a result of an increased project cost due to COVID to the New Hampshire CDFA to assist with the Community Development Block Grant 19410 CDPF award of $500,000 that has been used to acquire the 19 Sullivan Street building property in Claremont, New Hampshire, less administrative and non-construction fees for the purpose of developing a transitional sober housing facility. This hearing may be accessed through, do I need to announce that? I don't need it, the rest of it I don't need to.
Nope, just recommend this, dear. The bottom sentence of the first page. First page.
Oh, that one. Oh, you're talking about Derek. I recognize County Manager Derek R. Furlan to address the project.
Thank you, Commissioner Hebert. So as I guess I just said, quickly summarize, the Community Development Finance Authority contacted us and asked if we would like to apply for this gap funding. This sum of money, I believe, is $1.25 million that CDFA has for projects that they approved and funded in the last couple of years that were negatively impacted by COVID. So eligible cost items were those items that were material increases in the middle of our construction that frankly led to opportunities where the subcontractors were either going to walk away from the job because there's no way they're going to afford it. I mean, sometimes the cost of copper and sheetrock had doubled or tripled between the time when they had submitted their bids to their construction manager at the time that they were having to go out and actually buy the materials. So, and then other things were just delays, some material delays. They put the order in. Granite curbing was one example, and it had knock-on effects to other scopes of work. They had to wait for the granite curbs, especially for the window sills. That delay in particular required us to have to spend extra money boarding up all the window openings because until we got the granite sills in, we couldn't put the windows in. And then we had storage fees, so some things were shipped on time, but we weren't ready because the project schedule had slipped, and so we had to pay to store those items additional length of time. So those are all eligible expenses. We combed through the change orders with Blanc and Bailey, with Mary, and so we're pretty confident that even though the number that was in the advertisement, we actually took another look, and so we're up to $199,070. So I'm optimistic we'll get all of it, but it depends on if the amount of requests has exceeded their amount of funding available. So what will happen from here is after this public hearing, we'll have to finalize the submission by uploading some more justification documents. And once we do that, CDFA will review it internally with their staff, and then they'll take it to their executive director. And then once she and their board approves it, it'll go to governor and council for final approval. So unless they see something that they don't think is eligible, and you know, we have to back out some amount, or if they have not enough funds available to accommodate all the requests, would be the only two, I think, situations where we get partially denied. But this is great news. I mean, it really came at a great time.
It sure did.
And, yeah, I mean, it's nice that they recognize that this was a problem, not just for our project, but for projects all over the state. We're kind of in the same boat, so.
So, yeah, I think everybody recognizes it, but they had money or got money to do something about it, which is.
Any questions for me on?
Okay. The purpose of this hearing is to allow public to comment and ask questions about the CDBG 19410 CDPF $500,000 awards gap funding request of $199,070 just discussed by County Manager Furlong. Are there any comments or questions about the CDBG 19410 CDPF $500,000 award, $199,070 gap funding request? I'll take comments and questions. I'll repeat it one more time. Are there any comments or questions about the CDBG 19410 CDPF $500,000 award, $199,070 gap funding request? Seeing that there is no other public input, I close the public hearing.
I move to approve the submittal of gap funding application to the CDBG 19410 CDPF $500,000 award in the amount of $199,070, and to authorize County Manager Derek Furlong or County Commissioner Chair George Hebert as the authorized designees to sign and submit the CDBG application, and upon approval of the CDBG application, the authorized designees to execute any documents that may be necessary to effectuate CDBG gap funding contract agreement.
Is there a misprint on that? It says 770 on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to fudge that, so it's,
I think Ben said it right,
yeah.
Okay.
when they said it.
All in favor?
I'm
Aye. Motion passed.
Is that good for the public hearing, Sharon? All right. So back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Okay. Any old business? New business. Sullivan County Nutrition Services. Thank you. From Brenda Burns. Countywide electricity supplier. Motion required.
Now, this was just some from the Hitchcock money, or right, some of those.
Yes, this was the Greater Sullivan Strong Fund, yes.
Thank you, it was relatively
Yeah.
small ones, so it's.
Yeah, pretty cool to get, always nice to get a picture of that. Yeah, the electricity supplier, I got a memo, again, it was late last week. I intended to put a copy of it in your binders and I didn't get to that. Andy LaFreniere, who's our energy broker, has been monitoring, as you know, our current electricity bill. We're paying 7.32 cents per kilowatt hour for supply, energy supply. Expires in November, and when he started looking a few months ago, well really since last fall, the market has been ugly, really ugly. Current rates are like 10.5, anywhere from 10.5 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour, so between now and November, we need to do something. And so he outlined a couple different approaches, and the first one is to do what we've been doing, which is a fixed rate contract for a specified amount of time. Of course, the advantages of that are no fluctuation, you don't have to worry about the spot market changes going up or down. The downside is, if you lock in a rate and the rates drop, you're on the hook. That's not a very pretty picture. A shorter term fixed rate agreement is north of 13 cents right now. I mean, right now, but this changes every day. And a 4-year term is around 10 to 10 and a half. Well, we built into this year's budget a 10.5 cent per kilowatt hour, which is just about a 50% increase. So it had a $130,000 impact on our FY23 budget. I can't imagine locking that in for 4 years and declaring victory. But if we do a shorter deal, it's gonna cost even more than that. And then we have to hope that somewhere along the line, costs come down and we can just, do a longer extension. The other approach is where we try to lock in a portion of our demand at a fixed rate, and then the portion that's not locked in basically floats with the market. And there's a couple of mechanisms for them to do that. And it allows you to, it's like a similar concept of dollar cost averaging, where you look to try to get a blended rate, take advantage if the rates come down. It does help you on that additional component of your demand profile. So the purpose of the motion today was just to give me the authority to sign something in case something good happens with the fixed rate market, and it does drop down to something that we can live with, maybe even for a shorter duration, so that we're ready to go and we can lock it in. But
2 year,
yeah, or maybe even less, if it's like an 18-month thing, maybe it buys us enough time to do that. In the meantime, if you wanted Andy to come in and just have this conversation, it's I wouldn't say that it's super complex material, but we don't deal with this all the time, and so I wanted to make sure that, especially if we want to consider the second option, that you all feel comfortable enough with really what's going on in the market, and it's not just me trying to filter and relay what Andy's telling me, but I don't think it's got a news flash to anybody that energy prices are just through the roof across the board, whether it's number 2 heating oil or the gas pumps. Electricity is kind of in the same boat, but so I'm happy to set that up at a future commissioners meeting, have him come in and just chat with you about it, or just let me continue to work with him, and
You can work with them. The outlook for solar is really starting to look a little bleak for a while because of there's issues there. So that in the growth in population probably isn't helping things any, because there's a bigger demand for electricity. So things may not change for a while.
in his memo, it's funny that you mentioned solar, so he brought up one of the other market dynamics that's actually causing the solar market to slow down, is that they are now looking at panels that are supplied from Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam. There was a handful of countries in Southeast Asia, Southeast Asia, that they think are perhaps circumventing the Chinese tariffs.
yes.
So there could be a bunch of retroactive tariffs coming for projects that used panels from those countries.
China just moved them out.
So it's it's really put the brakes on a lot of that. The uncertainty is never good for any industry, especially when it comes to government regulation and tariffs.
Well,
So
China's
now,
shutting down lots of their ports and stuff too, so even if they are offshoring them, it's,
yeah,
And they're not even gonna come to a conclusion until the end of July or August. I think it was August even on that. So that could be a mess.
so there's just a lot of juggle balls up in the air right now when it comes to energy markets in general, and of course electricity, which is what we're concerned about as far as this arrangement goes. So anyway,
A lot of electricity stats out as either oil, coal, or propane, so I mean, it's all the same boat.
I'm not sure where the panels on the roof of this building came from, but I hope they're not from.
What panels?
Right. What panels? Yeah, they're pretty low profile. I'm just not found it.
I don't know if I need to hear anything from them.
Okay.
You can deal with them, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, what's going on is, it's all public knowledge, so.
just keep us advised of anything radical.
Okay.
Alright, so we want to do the motion, authorize county manager, move to authorize county manager, and then an agreement with, electricity supplier, local Patriot Energy Group, when the time seems advantageous.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Okay. And our next meeting is June 6th.
Minutes.
Do you have any? In the back.
if we do, so June 6th in Newport, so if I could make a recommendation, if we try to have the one on the 20th back here, and maybe we can have a repeat of the dedication.
Try to get Archie in?
Yep.
All right,
If that's okay, we'll
Yeah.
try to set that
yeah,
up
we
too.
can do that.
Can we bring the scissors?
You guys ever see The Big Lebowski? There's a scene in there where the guys are chasing with giant scissors, that's what I'm thinking of those things.
Yeah,
I won't say what they said, it's not suitable for,
Okay.
public meetings, but
those were real scissors, generally they're pretty,
I think they're pretty
Yeah.
sharp, she wasn't lying.
there should have been a safety briefing before.
yeah, generally they're like the kids' scissors, you know,
Yeah.
big versions of the safety scissors, but those are the real.
Although, somebody like the governor, or you all getting 10 stitches on a ribbon cutting, probably would have made the lead story and got you hard.
All right, February 22nd.
Move that we approve this project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
April 18th. I move that we accepted as printed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I was looking at the second, but it's not involved, so it's